My parents gave my room to my sister's boyfriend while I was still living there. Just hear me out. This story isn't easy to tell, but if you've ever felt like the outsider in your own home, maybe it'll mean something to you. My name's Jake. I'm 21, still living at home, working full-time at a warehouse to save up for school. My family isn't rich or anything, just regular people. My parents always said we're a tight unit, but I guess that only applies when it's convenient. I used to be super close with my younger sister, Brianna. We'd joke around, share snacks, talk about random stuff. She was 3 years younger, and we always had each other's backs. At least I thought we did. Things started changing when she began dating this guy, Zach. At first, he seemed okay. Kind of quiet, a little awkward, but I didn't think much of it. Brianna was happy, and that was enough for me. But soon, he was around all the time. Like every single day. He didn't talk to anyone, just sat on his phone or ate our food. Still, I didn't say anything. It was her boyfriend, not mine. One night, I came home from a long shift. I was exhausted, my back hurt, and all I wanted was to crash in my bed. But when I opened the door to my room, my stuff was gone. Not everything, just enough to make it clear it wasn't mine anymore. Posters gone. My blanket gone. There were Zach's things all over. Shoes, clothes, even a game console that wasn't mine. And there he was, lying on my bed, scrolling on his phone like he owned the place. I stood there, just frozen. I thought maybe it was a mistake or some weird joke. I asked my mom what was going on. She didn't even look up from her cooking. Just said, he's staying here now. Your sister wanted him to have a bit of space. You'll be fine on the couch. No one asked me. No one warned me. I wasn't gone for weeks, just one shift at work. And suddenly, I didn't have a room anymore. Brianna just shrugged and said, "It's not a big deal, Jake. Chill." But it was a big deal. That room was the only space in the world that was mine. My safe zone. And they just gave it away. To some guy I barely knew, like I didn't matter. It hit me hard. Not just losing the room. It was realizing how easy it was for my own family to push me aside. Like I was the guest now. Like I was in his house. Zach wasn't just a guest anymore. He moved in like he owned the place. My room, my space, had become his overnight. At first, I kept telling myself it was temporary. Maybe a week, 2 at most. But days turned into weeks, and there was no sign of him leaving. He didn't have a job. He wasn't in school. Turns out, he had dropped out of college months ago. No plans, no goals, just lounging around, sleeping in, and scrolling through his phone. The weirdest part? My parents didn't seem to care. In fact, they started treating him like he belonged more than I did. My mom would make breakfast and hand him a plate before I even stepped into the kitchen. My dad, who used to be strict about contributing to the household, suddenly had nothing to say about Zach sitting on the couch all day. It wasn't just about the room anymore. He started helping himself to my stuff. My shampoo. My snacks. One time, I came home and saw him wearing my hoodie, the one my best friend gave me in high school. I said, "Hey man, that's mine." He just looked at me and said, "It was in the closet, right?" Like that made it free game. I complained to Brianna, but she rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic. "Zach's chill. Why are you always so uptight?" she said. I told my parents, tried to keep it calm, but every time, they brushed it off. "Just let it go, Jake. It's not worth fighting about. Or worse. Why can't you just be supportive of your sister?" Supportive? I was supposed to be okay with a jobless guy living in my room, eating my food, using my stuff, and treating me like I was the outsider? He never said thank you. Never acknowledged the fact that he was basically mooching off all of us. And when I stood up for myself, I was the bad guy. Tension in the house got worse. I started staying out longer just to avoid being home. It didn't feel like home anymore anyway. I was losing more than just space. I was losing respect. And the worst part was, no one seemed to notice or care. The couch became my new bed. Every night, I'd lay there, surrounded by the sound of the TV that no one bothered to turn off, footsteps back and forth to the kitchen, and Zach's loud voice laughing at videos on his phone. No door to close. No silence. No privacy. It was like living in a hallway. I tried to make it work. I folded a blanket under my head, tucked another one around me, and told myself it was temporary. But night after night, I got maybe 3 hours of sleep tops. I'd wake up sore, grumpy, and more tired than when I'd gone to bed. Then I had to go to work, act normal, and pretend like everything was fine. It wasn't. Zach would sleep until noon, then wander out of my old room like a king. And Brianna? She changed. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like I didn't recognize her anymore. She walked around like she owned the place. She started bossing me around, like I was the one intruding. One morning, I came out of the bathroom, and she was standing there with her arms crossed. "You left your towel on the floor. Can you not be so gross?" she said. I blinked at her. "Seriously? That's what you're worried about." She snapped back. "Well, this isn't your room anymore, so maybe try acting like a guest." That word hit me hard, guest. I was sleeping on a couch, eating instant noodles because Zach finished the groceries, and now I was being told to act like a guest in the house I'd lived in my whole life. I tried to talk to my parents again. I stood in the kitchen one night and said, I can't keep living like this. I don't sleep. I don't have space. He's using all my stuff, and nobody seems to care. My dad sighed, barely looking up from his phone. Jake, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. It's just a couch. A couch I didn't choose, I shot back. You gave my room away without even asking me. My mom stepped in, arms folded. Brianna's boyfriend needed a place. You're being selfish. Selfish. I laughed. You think I'm the selfish one here? Then Brianna joined in, rolling her eyes. If you hate it so much, maybe you should just leave. The room went quiet. My dad nodded slowly. Maybe that's best. You're an adult now. I just stood there, heart pounding. After everything, they'd picked him over me. In that moment, it was clear. I wasn't wanted there anymore. Not really. And no matter how wrong it felt, they weren't going to change their mind. So I turned away, walked back to the couch, and stared at the ceiling all night. I didn't sleep. I just thought. The next morning, I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't eat breakfast. I didn't even wait to see if someone would apologize, because I knew they wouldn't. I just packed. It didn't take long. A couple of bags, some clothes, my work stuff, and whatever small things I had left that Zach hadn't already claimed. I looked around one last time. The couch, the empty spot where my gaming setup used to be, the family photos on the wall that didn't feel like they belonged to me anymore. I left without saying goodbye. I texted my friend Mason on the way out. We hadn't seen each other in a while, but I knew he'd understand. He always did. When I told him what happened, he didn't even hesitate. You can crash at my place, he said. It's nothing fancy, but the couch turns into a bed, and there's no Zach on it. I laughed for the first time in weeks. Mason's apartment was small, just one bedroom and a living room, but it felt like a palace compared to what I'd left behind. More importantly, it felt like someone actually wanted me. The first few nights, I slept like a rock. Not because the couch was great, but because I finally felt safe again. No one barging in. No noise at 3 a.m. No walking on eggshells in my own home. Mason never pried, but he listened when I needed to vent. I told him everything. How Zach had taken over, how Brianna turned on me, how my parents backed them up like I didn't matter. He didn't try to fix it. He just nodded and said, "That's messed up, man, but you did the right thing leaving." I needed to hear that. A week later, I picked up a second job. Still at the warehouse, but now I was also working part-time at a local auto shop. It wasn't glamorous, but it was solid. The guys there treated me with respect, and I got to work with my hands, something that actually helped clear my head. Every paycheck, I saved a little more. No parties. No takeout. Just quiet nights, hard work, and a plan slowly forming in the back of my mind. I wasn't just running away anymore. I was getting ready. A few months had passed. I was still crashing at Mason's place, working 2 jobs, keeping my head down. Things were steady. Not perfect, but peaceful. Every day I woke up without someone yelling or slamming doors or stealing my food felt like a win. Then one night, Mason and I were grabbing takeout after work, and he casually mentioned something he saw on Brianna's Instagram. "Man, your sister and that Zach dude are living pretty cozy now," he said. She posted a picture of their chill space. "Looks like your old room." I pulled up the post later that night. There it was, my old room. The walls were repainted, but I could still recognize my bed, my old desk, even the shelf I put up myself, still holding junk I'd left behind. Zach was sitting on the bed with his arm around Brianna, both smiling like they owned the world. I stared at the screen for a long time. My chest burned, but it wasn't just anger anymore. It was something colder, sharper. I'd been pushed out, replaced, and forgotten. And now they were thriving in the space that used to be mine. I couldn't stop thinking about it. For days, I'd lie awake after work, picturing Zach laughing in my room, Brianna acting like it had always been there. And my parents, they were letting it happen, acting like they'd done nothing wrong. At first, I wanted to go over there and just yell, let it all out, make them feel the way I felt. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that would just make me look bitter and crazy. And honestly, they wouldn't care. They'd shrug it off, maybe even laugh about it later. No, if I was going to do something, it had to be smart, quiet, clean. That's when the idea hit me. One night after a long shift at the warehouse, I walked past the small budget motel near the freeway. Nothing fancy, just a row of dimly lit rooms and a neon vacancy sign buzzing in the dark. I stood there for a moment, watching the flickering lights. And then I smiled. That was it. That was exactly what they deserved. A room. Just like the one they took from me, only not mine. Not comfortable. Not familiar. A place that said, "You're not wanted here. Find somewhere else." The plan started forming fast. I'd book a room for them, one of those budget motels with thin walls and stale air. Then I'd show up, act friendly, pretend I wanted to make peace. And when the moment was right, I'd give them the key. No yelling, no drama, just a quiet, perfect message. You gave my room to a stranger, so I gave you one too. I booked the room early in the morning, 7 days, 1 key, paid in full. It was a rundown budget motel just 10 minutes from my parents' house. The kind of place you only stay in when you've got nowhere else to go. It smelled like cigarette smoke and bleach, and the curtains didn't quite close all the way. But it had a bed, a door that locked, and a working toilet. That was enough. I kept the key in my jacket pocket all day, feeling its shape with my fingers like it was burning through the fabric. This wasn't about rage anymore. It was about balance. And I was finally ready. That evening, I drove back home for the first time since I'd left. My heart was pounding, not from fear, but from a strange calm I didn't recognize at first. I rang the doorbell. My mom answered, surprised but smiling like nothing had ever happened. "Well, look who it is," she said. "Finally decided to visit?" I smiled back. "Yeah, thought it was time." They let me in. Zach was there, of course, on the couch like it was his. Brianna was curled up next to him, scrolling on her phone. No one apologized. No one even brought up what had happened. My dad offered me a soda like we were just catching up after a vacation. After a few minutes of small talk, I reached into my jacket and pulled out the envelope with the motel key inside. I placed it gently on the coffee table. "What's that?" my mom asked. "A gift," I said. "For Zach and Brianna. Paid for a whole week. Thought they'd appreciate having a space of their own." Everyone stared at it. Zach reached for the envelope and opened it. He looked at the motel keycard, then at me, confused. "What is this?" "It's a room," I said. "Figured since you two took mine, I'd return the favor." Silence. My dad narrowed his eyes. "Jake, what are you doing?" I looked at him, still calm. "You all made your choice. I just made mine." My mom's smile dropped. Brianna looked like she didn't know whether to be angry or embarrassed. Zach finally stood up, fists clenched. "You think this is funny?" I shrugged. "No, I think it's fair." Then I turned and walked out the front door, leaving the key and the past behind me. I hadn't even reached my car before I heard the front door swing open behind me. "Jake, what the hell is this?" my mom shouted from the porch. I turned around slowly. She was standing there holding the envelope, like it was some kind of insult. My dad was behind her, face red, arms crossed tight. Zach stormed out next, fuming, eyes locked on me. "You think this is a joke?" he snapped, holding up the motel key. "You think we're gonna go live in that dump?" I stayed quiet for a second, letting them all speak. My heart was racing, but on the outside I was calm. I had nothing left to lose, and nothing left to prove to them. Brianna appeared last, standing halfway in the doorway, tears starting to fall. She wasn't yelling. She just looked broken. "Why would you do this?" she asked softly. I looked at her, then at my parents, then back at Zach. And I finally spoke. "You gave my space to a stranger," I said, my voice steady. "So I returned the favor." My mom gasped like I'd slapped her. My dad muttered, "This is ridiculous." But he didn't try to stop me. Zach stepped forward, chest puffed like he wanted to fight. "You think you're some kind of hero? You're just a bitter loser, man." I smiled just a little. "Maybe. But I'm not the one living off someone else's family like a tick." That pushed him over the edge. He lunged toward me, but my dad held him back. "Zach, don't." I didn't flinch. I didn't need to. I'd already said everything that needed to be said. "You didn't care how it affected me," I continued. "Not when you let him take over my room. Not when you ignored every time I asked for help. You made your choice. I'm just reminding you what it felt like." My mom looked like she wanted to speak, but no words came out. Brianna was crying now, full on, trying to wipe her face with her sleeve. I didn't hate her, not really, but I couldn't feel sorry for her either. Not after everything. I opened my car door. "Where are you going?" my dad asked. "Back," I said, "to where people actually want me around." I got in, closed the door, and drove off. No one followed. And this time, I wasn't leaving out of defeat. I wasn't running away. I was done. Done with begging for space. Done with pretending this family still had my back. Done letting anyone take from me without consequence. This time, I left on my terms. A few weeks after everything went down, I found a small studio apartment on the edge of town. It wasn't anything fancy, just a single room with a kitchenette, a tiny bathroom, and creaky floors. But it was mine. Every inch of it. No one barging in. No one taking over. Just peace. The first night I slept there, I didn't toss or turn. I didn't wake up to someone else's noise. I didn't worry about anyone walking past me or stepping over my things. I laid down, closed my eyes, and finally slept. With that quiet came clarity. I started eating better, working out again, fixing up the place little by little. I hung up posters I'd saved from my old room, got myself a cheap but solid desk, set up my laptop, and made the place feel like home. Work was steady. The guys at the auto shop respected me, And even at the warehouse, I noticed something shift. I stood taller, spoke up more, stopped apologizing for just existing. People responded to that. I didn't feel invisible anymore. And somewhere along the way, I started seeing this girl named Lena, a friend of Mason's who worked part-time at a cafe nearby. We started slow. Coffee, casual conversations, shared playlists. She didn't ask about my past right away, and I didn't dump it all on her. But when it eventually came up, she listened. No judgment. No, well, maybe they meant well. Just support. That meant everything. I didn't realize how much I'd been holding on to, the guilt, the anger, the hurt, until I was around people who actually made space for me willingly. Not out of obligation. Out of care. There were days when I'd remember the way things used to be. The house, Brianna, my parents, and I'd feel that tight knot in my chest again. But it didn't last as long anymore. I wasn't stuck in it. I could let the memory pass and go back to my life, a better one. One I built from nothing, with no one handing it to me. It's funny how losing everything somehow helped me find myself. I had to walk away from the people who said they loved me to figure out what love actually looks like, and how I deserved to be treated. And now, every quiet night, every peaceful morning, it feels earned. It had been about 6 months since I last stepped foot in my parents' house. Life had finally settled into something calm, something I actually looked forward to waking up. I had my apartment, my routines, Lena, my friends, and more importantly, I had peace. Then, one random afternoon, I got a text from Brianna. Hey, can we talk? I stared at the screen for a while. I hadn't blocked her. I don't believe in cutting people off unless they give me a reason to fear them, but I also hadn't expected her to reach out again. Not after everything. Out of curiosity, I said yes. We met at a park not far from where we used to ride bikes as kids. She looked tired. Not just tired like she missed sleep. Tired in the way someone does after trying too hard for too long. Zach was gone. Walked out, apparently, after months of doing nothing and dragging her down with him. Left her with a mess, emotionally, financially, everything. She didn't go into detail, but it was clear she had finally seen what I'd seen from day one. She apologized. Tears welled up. She said she missed me, that she didn't realize what she was doing at the time, that she just wanted someone to make her feel important, and somehow ended up helping push me out in the process. I told her I appreciated her saying that, and I meant it. Then a few days later, my parents called. I hadn't spoken to them at all since the motel key moment. They sounded nervous. Awkward. My mom said things weren't the same without me around, that the house felt too quiet, that maybe I could come back just for a while if I needed anything. I knew what they were doing. I knew it wasn't entirely about me. It was about Brianna, about guilt, about trying to sweep things under the rug and pretend it was all just a misunderstanding. But I wasn't that kid on the couch anymore. I told them thank you, but no, that I was good where I was, that I was building something for myself now, and going backward didn't make sense. I said I forgave them. Not because I was okay with what happened, but because holding on to that pain wouldn't help me grow. They didn't argue. They just went quiet. I think deep down they understood. That door they slammed shut on me? I had no intention of reopening. Not out of anger. Just out of self-respect. Some chapters don't need to be rewritten. They just need to stay closed. Looking back, it still feels surreal sometimes. How fast things changed. How easy it was for the people I trusted most to push me out of my own life. But honestly, I'm glad it happened. Because if they hadn't done what they did, I might have never found out what I was really worth. It's strange, the way families talk about love. We say it's unconditional. We say blood is everything. But love without respect isn't love. It's control. And sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who do the most damage. For the longest time, I thought I had to earn space in my own home. I thought if I was quieter, more helpful, more patient, they'd see me again. But all I was doing was shrinking myself to fit into a place that didn't have room for me anymore. Leaving wasn't weakness. It was strength. Setting boundaries didn't make me selfish. It made me healthy. I stopped begging people to treat me right. I stopped explaining over and over why what they did hurt. I stopped trying to make them see me. Instead, I saw myself, clearly, maybe for the first time. I built a life around that version of me. The one who didn't settle. The one who didn't wait for permission to be respected. The one who walked away with his head held high. And if there's anything I want someone out there to take from this, it's this. If your own family doesn't value you, value yourself enough to walk away. It's not betrayal to protect your peace. It's not cruel to want respect. And it's not your job to carry relationships that hurt you, no matter how deep the connection runs. You deserve to be treated like you matter. In your home, in your friendships, in your life. And if someone, even someone close, refuses to see your worth, it's okay to let them go. You're not heartless. You're healing. I'm not perfect. I still have days where I wonder what things would have been like if they'd just done the right thing. But I don't live in that space anymore. I live in the present, and the peace I fought for. And that, to me, is the real win. Thanks for hearing my story. If it hit home, maybe share it with someone who needs to hear it too. And remember, you're allowed to choose you. What's your take? Did Jake make the right call by cutting ties and starting fresh, or should he have given his family another chance? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your perspective. And hey, if stories like this speak to you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one.